Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Janavapa Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Yashodanandana Jaya Brajajanaranjana Jaya Yashodanandana Jaya Brajajanaranjana Jaya Yashodanandana Jaya Brajajanaranjana Jaya Yashodanandana Jaya Brajajanaranjana Jaya Yamunatiravanachari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Yamunatiravanachari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Yamunatiravanachari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Yamunatiravanachari Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Nitai Gaura Hari Bo Nitai Gaura Hari Bo Shri Radhanath ki Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki Shri Kiraj Govardhan Hari ki Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki Shri Prabhupada ki Shri Shintai Gaur Premanande. Hare Krishna everyone. Thank you all so much for this service today. We're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 17. This chapter is titled Maharaj Prithu Becomes Angry at the Earth, and this is text 31. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Ya etad adav asrijak characharang swamaya yatma ashraya ya vitarkyayam tayaiva soyang kila goptum udyataham katang numang dharma paro jighang satim. The translation is, in the beginning of creation, you created all these moving and non-moving living entities by your inconceivable energy. Through this very same energy, you are now prepared to protect the living entities. Indeed, you are the supreme protector of religious principles. Why are you so anxious to kill me, even though I am in the form of a cow? Okay, so we can read word by word. Ya, etad, adav, asrijak, characharang, sva, Maya Yatma Shraya Ya Vitarkyaya. Tayaiva So Yang Kila Goptum Udyataha Katang Nu Mang Dharma Paro Jighangsati. Line by line. Ya etad adab asrijak characharang Svamaya yatma shraya ya vitarkyaya. Tayaiva soyang kila goptum udyataha Katang numang dharma paro jighangsati. Ya etad adav asrijak characharang Svamaya yatma shraya yat ya vitarkyaya. Tayaiva soyang kila goptum udyataha Katang numam dharma paro jighangsati. Anyone wants to read line by line? Ya itadada vasrijak characharang Swamaya yatma shraya vitarkyaya. Tayaiva soyang kila goptum udyataha Katang numam dharma paro jighangsati. Anyone else wants to read? Okay, we can read word by word. Ya, one who. Etat, these. Adau, in the beginning of creation. Asrijat, created. Characharam, moving and non-moving living entities. Mayaya, by his own potency. Atma ashraya, sheltered under his own protection. Avitarkyaya, inconceivable. Taya, by that same Maya. Eva, certainly. Saha, he. Ayam, this king. Kila, certainly. Goptum, udyataha, prepared to give protection. Katam, how. Nu, then. Mam, me. Dharma varaha, one who is strictly following religious principles. Jighang sati, desires to kill. You can all repeat the translation after me. In the beginning of creation, you created all these moving and non-moving living entities by your inconceivable energy. Through this very same energy, you are now prepared to protect the living entities. Indeed, you are the supreme protector of religious principles. Why are you so anxious to kill me, even though I am in the form of a cow? So that translation and purport is by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki. Okay, so the purport is, the planet Earth argues that there is no doubt that one who creates can also annihilate by his sweet will. The planet Earth questions why she should be killed when the Lord is prepared to give protection to everyone. After all, it is the Earth that is the resting place for all other living entities, and it is the earth that produces grains for them. Om Jnanatimidandasya Gnanginashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamini Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Prasharine Nirvishesha Shunivari Pastrati Deshtarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Vanchakapatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhuve Evacha Paditanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. So I pray for all your blessings as well, so that we can appreciate these teachings more deeply from class today. So this chapter is it's actually very interesting because the earth has withheld grains and other resources from the people who are now starving, and their king Maharaj Prithu is pursuing the earth to kill her. Okay. And she's taken the form of a cow, and she's pleading to him repeatedly that she shouldn't be killed in this particular manifestation of hers. And we've already discussed that she's actually going against the rule of the Lord, who has established that the demigods, of which she is acting as one, should accept oblations from the living beings, which she has done, and she should supply resources in return. She's not been doing that. She's been transgressing the rules laid down by the Lord. On top of the fact that she's the mother of these living entities, right? Her citizens are starving, and the king has a duty as her ruler to punish her and also to protect those citizens. So this much we've understood up to now. So in this verse, in her argument against being killed, the earth is making a point about how the Lord is the independent creator of everything. Right? This is a theme that actually started with the previous verse, where she explained that he is actually responsible for the entire material manifestation being created. And she calls him the complete conductor. It's very interesting, the complete conductor. Because we know that creation also has another personality involved, it's Lord Brahma. So how is it that the Lord is the complete conductor? So just like Maharaj Prithu, Brahma is empowered to carry out his functions. He can't create independently. The Lord is the primary creator, and Brahma is only the secondary creator. So this is an interesting point, that the Lord can actually be present in someone so much that they can be considered an incarnation even if they are a jiva like us. That is called a Shakti Avesh avatar, an empowered incarnation. So just as Maharaj Prithu is being addressed here as the Supreme Lord who has created everything, because inherent in him now is the power that the Lord has invested in him to carry out functions on his behalf, so Brahma also has that kind of power. So he's able to carry out creation, but we must not be bewildered that the actual creator is the Supreme Lord who has given him the power to be able to do so. So these divisions, primary and secondary creation, they're explained very nicely in the third canto, chapter 10. The creation, the entire creation is actually divided into 10 divisions, 10 sections. And the first 6 are created primarily by the Lord as Mahavishnu, and then Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, and then Kshirodakshaya Vishnu. And Brahma takes over after being empowered from the 7th creation onwards. So we'll just go through it quickly. So the first creation, according to verse 15 of chapter 10 of Canto 3, the first creation is the creation of the Mahatattva. And this is the actual sum of the ingredients. All the material ingredients together were existing in this potential space called the Mahatattva after the previous destruction. And the Mahatattva requires activation by the glance of the Lord. When he looks over the creation, the potential space where the creation is, where the ingredients of creation are, then the time factor enters. And when the time factor is a part of this material creation, right, the representative of the Supreme Lord, then we find that everything starts being activated, right? Which makes sense because time is the actual framework for karma to play out. Right? And essentially that's what this material creation is for. It's for the living entities to play out their karma, right, in evolutionary fashion, so that they can eventually learn their lessons and come to the devotional service of the Lord and become freed. And that's the grand plan. So time is required, but also the element of character, the way that the karma will play out. And this character is imparted by the three modes of nature. So along with the Mahatattva, the three modes interact because of the presence of the Lord. That's the first creation. It's the setting for everything else. The second creation is the false ego. The Lord explains in Bhagavad Gita that the ego is one of his energies. The ego is important because it's the false ego is the interface by which the soul is going to carry out karma in the space of the material world, which it is foreign to. So the ego is its medium. And the false ego sets up three things: the material ingredients, material knowledge, and material activities. So the next creation, the third creation, is the material ingredients. Right? And those ingredients, the particular interface by which the false ego acts, the soul acts through the false ego, is the senses. That's how the soul is able to interact with the world, through the senses. Right? So the senses are an extension of the false ego: eyes, ears, nose, mouth, touch. So the first sense that comes about is sound. And sound requires a particular element, right, to exist. That element is ether. So from sound comes ether. And from ether, from the interactions, under the glance of the Lord, comes touch. And touch requires air. And so on like that. Light and form, because we need light to be able to see form. And then taste and water. If there's no liquid in anything, you actually can't get any taste. And then lastly, smell and the earth. So these are the material ingredients. Right? That's the third creation. And then the fourth creation are the knowledge of how to use all this information that you get through your senses, as well as the activities that are related to those. Okay? Dravya. Dravya is the ingredients, jnana, knowledge, and activities. Karma. So that working capacity is carried out, the activities are carried out through the working senses: the hands, the legs, the tongue, the belly, the genitals and the anus, genitals and the anus. So those are the five working senses. Those are the fourth creation. Now we require the fifth creation, and these are the controlling deities that actually mediate the elements and our senses. Right? So we'll take an example. You have the controlling deity of the sun. And that deity mediates light, which we require for the eyes to work. If you don't have light, the eyes don't work. So essentially those deities are controlling our senses. So those controlling deities come into creation in the fifth division. And then after that, the sixth division is the ignorance that then covers all of us and makes us believe that we are this false ego and that we are part of this material creation. So those are the six creations that are directly carried out under the glance of the Supreme Lord Mahavishnu. So Brahma takes over from here on. Right? And as we said, it's quite a process. He's first created by Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, being born on the lotus, but then he needs to become empowered. So even though he's gotten this post of Brahma by being the most pious living entity in the previous creation, he still needs to undergo penance in order to earn this ability to carry out creation. And so this he does. He has a vision of the Lord, the mercy of the Lord, and then he's able to create. So what does he create? The seventh creation is the immovable living entities, plants, trees, and creepers. Then the 8th creation is all of the lower species of life, animals and birds. Shri Shri Radha Radhanath ki, Shri Shri Shani Mahaprabhu ki, Srila Giraj Govardhan Hari ki, Srila Prabhupada ki. So the 8th creation is of the lower species of life. There are many varieties, right? They're divided into whether they have cloven hooves, single hooves, nails, birds, right? There are 28 varieties of these beings. And then the 9th creation is the human beings. And the 10th creation is the demigods. Right? But the demigods have various divisions in them. There's actually many different types of celestial beings. The forefathers are actually considered part of the demigods. Even the demons, right? They have some pretty fantastic powers. The Gandharvas, the Apsaras, the Yakshas, Rakshasas, Siddhas, Charanas, Vidyadharas, Bhutas, Pretas, Pisachas, and superhuman beings. Those persons who are somewhat between human beings and demigods, celestial singers and so on. So all of these persons, all of these categories are created by Brahma. So it's quite obvious from this description how different it is, the primary creation and the secondary creation, right? We consider that the secondary creation is rather straightforward. It's things that we're all very familiar with. But the primary creation, the Mahatattva, the modes, the ingredients, the elements, it's all very esoteric, right? A little beyond our understanding. So we can see that there are things that only the Supreme Lord can do. And even if there are things that we can conceive of, we still need empowerment to do it, right? Like Brahma. So this is very interesting about creation. So this is why Mother Earth says, you are the complete creator. You're actually you're behind everything. Even if Brahma is carrying this out as his service to you, you're actually the one who does everything. So then she makes the point that, okay, I get that if you create everything, you can also destroy everything. And that, of course, is reference to herself, because she stated in the previous verse, you created me, that's true, so you can destroy me also. I acknowledge that. But even destruction is not straightforward. There's actually a few kinds of destruction as well. And this is described in the 12th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. The one destruction that we're all very familiar with is the one that's carried out by Lord Shiva. This is part of the complete universal destruction, and also called the material destruction. But even Lord Shiva is a guna avatar. He's also an avatar of Vishnu. It's not so straightforward that, again, some ordinary jiva can carry it out without being especially empowered. But even in this case, even more so than that, Lord Shiva, who we know has more qualities of the Lord than a jiva. So Lord Shiva is required for destruction. But what are the other types? So we'll read from chapter 4 of the 12th canto. 1,000 cycles of 4 ages constitutes 1 day of Brahma, and each day of Brahma, called a kalpa, contains within it lifetimes of 14 manus. The duration of Brahma's night is the same as that of his day. During his night, Brahma sleeps, and the 3 planetary systems meet destruction. This is the naimatika, or occasional annihilation. Very interesting. So basically, Lord Brahma creates everything at the beginning, empowered by the Lord, but then he doesn't have like 100-year lifespan to just chill. Right? I thought this was like interesting, because every night, every time he goes to sleep, the lower planetary systems, the Earth planet, as well as Swarga as well, all the way up to the demigods, they're all destroyed. They're all destroyed. And the next morning when he wakes up, he has to create them all over again. So Brahma goes to work every day. So nobody can get away from doing work. That's what Krishna's message is in Bhagavad Gita. So who carries out this destruction? Lord Narayan. Another verse from this 4th chapter of the 12th canto. This is called the Naimittika, or occasional annihilation, during which the original creator, Lord Narayan, lies down upon the bed of Anantashesh and absorbs the entire universe within himself while Brahma sleeps. So again, destruction under the Lord's control. So that's the occasional destruction. What about the entire destruction? Okay, when Brahma's lifespan of 100 years is finished, there occurs the prakritika, or total material annihilation. Everything now, even Brahma's planets, the upper planetary systems. At that time, the 7 elements of material nature, beginning with the Mahat, right, everything, the entire universal egg composed of them, are destroyed. So, of course, we've said that is carried out by Lord Shiva, as well as Anantashesh, right, who releases great fire from his mouth. Then, when a person achieves knowledge of the Absolute, he understands factual reality. He perceives the entire created universe as separate from the Absolute and therefore unreal. That is called the Atyantika, or the final annihilation. That is our annihilation of our material existence. So in a way, that's also a destruction. And of course, we know who grants liberation. It's Mukunda. Again, Krishna, who destroys our material existence. And then the 4th liberation. At every moment, time invisibly transforms the bodies of all created beings and all other manifestations of matter. The process of transformation causes the living entity to undergo the constant annihilation of birth and death. That's the annihilation that we're all very familiar with. And who is time that affects this annihilation? Kalosmi is Krishna. So creation is under the control of the Lord, annihilation is under the control of the Lord. And both to a degree have their challenges, but what's harder is in between, the maintenance. Everybody knows that's the most difficult task, and that the Lord, of course, also carries out himself. And the Lord is the maintainer of everything. Everyone knows how difficult it is to maintain stuff. Right? Businesses, your studies, households, relationships can get a bit crazy. So the Lord is doing this himself. And this is the point that she now raises in this verse. Right? That you're maintaining everyone. You're maintaining everything, I get that. You're pursuing me because you have a duty to maintain these living beings who have taken your shelter. But what about me? You need to maintain me also. You created me. You can't just destroy me. I have a function. Right? The Lord's King Priest has already told her, I can actually wipe you out, and with my power I can just sustain all these living entities. Nobody is indispensable. This we've heard before, but even the earth from the viewpoint of the Supreme Lord is not indispensable. This is how unlimitedly powerful he is. Nobody gets to have a false ego around the Lord, and not even the earth. It's like I can wipe you out, literally. But then she's not appealing to him on that grounds, therefore, that you know what, you need me to take care of these living entities. I realize that you can actually do that, but you need to just carry out your duty to maintain me as your creation. And then she obviously invokes that part of this is because you are the upholder of religious principles. You are the supreme protector of religious principles, and because of that you have to maintain me, right? Because she mentions again, I'm a cow. She's been saying that a lot. I'm a cow. You can imagine maybe she's going to say next, I'm a woman as well, because this is Dharma. Dharma says that you have to protect 5 groups of living entities in particular: women, cows, children, the elderly, and brahmanas. And the Lord is the supreme protector of Dharma, so naturally she's reminding him that you should know this, right? You should know that you need to maintain me as the creator and as the upholder of religious principles. And this was very, very strictly adhered to in ancient times, so much so that battles were won and lost over it. Everybody remembers the very famous history of how Bhishma was killed on the battlefield. Bhishma was practically the one factor that was standing between the Pandavas winning or losing, as Arjuna was the one factor on the side of the Kauravas, Pandavas. But the reality is that when these two persons were going to be matched up to each other, Bhishma was always going to be superior. So when Arjuna fought, he fought with someone actually in front of him, right, in order to actually stop Bhishma from attacking him. So it's a very interesting history. So long before the battle, long before Pandavas were born, or even Bhishma, Dhritarashtra and Pandu, Bhishma was supposed to be the sole heir to his father Santanu's kingdom. And then we remember the history that Santanu took on another wife, and that father-in-law insisted that his daughter's children would become the next rulers rather than Bhishma. Okay, Bhishma accepted this out of his great affection and loyalty to his father. But when those princes grew up, Bhishma took it upon himself to find wives for them. Okay, so he kidnapped 3 very qualified princesses, as was done in the day, named Amba, Ambika and Ambalika. Right? And he brought these 3 girls to the Pandava kingdom, the Kaurava kingdom, to marry these sons of his stepmother, Satyavati. So one of the 3 girls, the eldest, Amba, she had already chosen a husband, Shalya. And so Bhishma let her go. Okay. But since she had already been kidnapped by another man, her prospective husband rejected her. Okay, this is also part of the codes of the day. He had felt very insulted by that act, and he told her that he couldn't accept her now, that she must go and get married to Bhishma. But Bhishma, in order to allay the fears of his stepmother's father, he had taken a vow not to get married, because even though he had renounced his claim to the throne, perhaps his sons might say that they were the rightful heirs, right, and challenge the sons of his stepmother. So in order to make that prospect impossible, Bhishma took a lifelong vow of celibacy. So when Amba came back to him, he's like, I can't marry you. Right? And she was furious. So she tried to get many great personalities to intercede on her behalf, right, including Parashuram, who's the guru of Bhishma, to actually fight with him. But even Parashuram couldn't move the dedication of Bhishma to his vow. So he respectfully gave up the fight. So then she went and did penance for many years in the forest, very intense penance. And eventually Lord Shiva appeared to her. Even he could not break the vow of Bhishma, but he told her that he could at least grant her part of her desire, that she would be the cause of his destruction, right? That she would be born in her next life and have that opportunity. And she was so delighted with this, she immediately set a cremation fire and killed herself with this in mind. Right? So takes revenge to another level. So now she's reborn in the family of Draupadi. She was actually the youngest sister of Draupadi initially. She was born as a female, Shikandani. So this posed a bit of a problem, because at her birth it was foretold that she would actually end up being a man. So she should be raised as a man. So that her father did, but then it came to a problem when he found a wife for her, because the wife realized that this is not a male. So fearful that there was going to be war now between the 2 kingdoms, Shikandani just left the palace, just went to the forest, just wanted to kill herself. So while weeping in the forest, she met a yaksha. Yakshas are celestial beings. We just read they're part of that whole group of demigods. They have great powers. And the yaksha felt very sorry on hearing her story, and he agreed to exchange his gender with hers. So he gave her the male gender and he took the female gender. So Shikandani became Shikandi. Happily went back to the kingdom, and at least for now that threat of war was allayed. As for this yaksha, when Kuvera came and discovered one of his subjects was now female is a bit upset, but he eventually, he cursed this yaksha. That, okay, then you're just going to stay a female forever. Why did you do this? So after the yaksha pleaded for mercy, then Kuvera said, all right, when Shikandi, now when this person dies, you'll get your gender back. So that's the yaksha sorted out. Shikandi is now ready to fulfill her destiny. Because Bhishma, even if she is now a male, Bhishma is not going to fight a woman, even an ex-woman. So the wonderful codes of chivalry in those days, actually it's amazing, because there's so much of bloodshed now, because Bhishma is when this war is carrying on, Bhishma is the focal point of the attack of the Pandavas. That is actually said that Yudhishthir went to Bhishma, because after the conch shells are sounded at the end of the day, they're not enemies anymore. Right? They have such codes of honor that they actually mix with each other. So Yudhishthir and Arjuna, they actually went to Bhishma and said, well, how do we kill you? Because so much is going on in this effort. So many warriors are being killed. What should we do? And then Bhishma indicated that I will not fight Shikandi. So they understood. So Shikandi actually joined Arjuna on his chariot and stood before Arjuna, like in front of Arjuna, facing Bhishma. So Bhishma would not raise any weapons to Shikandi, which meant that Arjuna behind Shikandi could actually fire weapons at Bhishma, and that's how eventually he was mortally wounded. So this is like a level of dharma that we can't conceive of. But this is actually what the earth is alluding to. You've laid these principles down to be followed literally, even by you. She's saying, even by you. And the Lord also says that, famous verses from Bhagavad Gita, Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhittanam adharmasya tadatmanam shrijami aham paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam dharma samstapanartaya sambhavami yuge yuge. Whenever and wherever there is a decline in religious practice and a predominant rise of religion, at that time I descend myself, and again emphasis in the next verse, in order to deliver the pious and annihilate the miscreants, and to re-establish the principles of Dharma. Again, Dharma, I appear millennium after millennium. So as the one who lays down these principles, she says, you should know them. But there's more to the principles of Dharma than just these moral, or we could say materially good interpretations of it. There's also the higher Dharma, the supreme occupation, because there's so many levels of Dharma. This is what we need to make clear. Even beyond that which she is alluding to now, there is a supreme Dharma that the Lord is on, right? Which is when one approaches Him in surrender. We've discussed this before in devotional service. That's what the citizens have actually done. Right? And the Lord always protects His devotees above everything else. And the devotee is acting on that level of the supreme Dharma. Another famous verse from Canto 1 of Srimad Bhagavatam, Chapter 2. Savai pumsam paro dharmo yato bhaktira dokshaje ahoitukiya pratyatha yayatma suprasidati. The supreme Dharma, paro dharma, more than even the Dharma that is spoken of in Bhagavad Gita or in any of the moral codes that have been given to this world. The supreme Dharma for all humanity is that by which men can attain to loving devotional service unto the transcendent Lord. Such devotional service must be unmotivated and uninterrupted to completely satisfy the self. So from hearing this, we can understand how the ordinary moralist today might have a problem with it. Right? Nobody considers that the highest good that anyone can do, right, the highest religious principle, the highest moral principle, is actually through trying to please God over living entities. Little example. So I, while I was reading, one day came across the list of the top 50 Indians. So out of curiosity, I looked at it, obviously hoping to see Srila Prabhupada's name, but I didn't. And the priority on these lists is given to humanitarians, and socialists, poets, probably with a humanitarian bent, nationalists, because everyone has a conception that religion divides and ordinary morals or social values or humanitarian work unites. This is the common conception. But what Prabhupada taught is not ordinary religion, because yes, that does divide. Right? Therefore, ordinary dharmic principles which are based on religion can have that effect as well. The Supreme Dharma has or recognizes no distinction on the basis of the body. And as such, it is the most equal platform that could ever exist, right? The absolute platform. But ordinary good exists solely on the body. So even if these persons are being recognized for the greatness in their achievements, it's for one community, one nation, one species, and not all beings everywhere, which is the level that this Parodharma or Supreme Dharma will elevate you to. Because if you prioritize your community and you've done a lot to uplift it, there's going to be some other community that has been disadvantaged. And you've done great things for your country, but your country is going to fight another country, and that country is going to be disadvantaged. And you feed the poor, but you feed them other living entities, and those living entities are being disadvantaged. On the level of relative good, you will never be able to do good for everybody. Never. It will always be for some group or some person or some division or some species, because that's the problem with material good that's based on the body. And that's the best that anyone in this world can actually do. Right? So it's not good enough. It's not good enough to achieve true equality. Right? True equality is Vidya Vinaya Sampane, Brahmane Gavihastini, Shunisheva, Swapakecha, Pandita Samadarshinaha. Right? The really learned person, the real Pandit sees with equal vision, Samadarshi, everyone, not just the Brahmin and the dog the dog eater, but also the cow and the elephant, everyone. Trees, plants, creepers, you name it. And that no other religious process can actually promise. So this Paradharma, it is supreme for that reason. Not just that it elevates us to that level, but what we can do with that knowledge on that level. That we can elevate others as well to that point, and then completely liberate ourselves from all suffering. Because again, humanitarian efforts can only limit suffering to a degree, cannot eradicate it. This Supreme Dharma can eradicate it for good. No suffering for anyone, anywhere. And so we understand that this is the actual definition of what is truly good for humanity. This is the actual Supreme Dharma, the supreme religious principle. This is the kind of platform, the absolute platform that Maharaj Prithu is acting on. On this transcendent level, the ordinary dharma, the ordinary religious principles, they're actually superseded by the Paradharma, by the supreme religious principles. So, of course, there's nothing wrong with the ordinary principles, we can put it that way, right? Because not everyone is on the same level, and the Lord caters to everyone. We've said that. If people are on different levels of morality or different levels of goodness, or not even on the level of goodness, okay, there's still religious principles for everyone. There's religious principles for those in the modes of ignorance. There's religious principles for those in the mode of passion. There's religious principles for those in the mode of goodness. But eventually we can understand the importance of coming to the transcendental level. Because if you really want to do good, the only way that you can do absolute good is on the level of transcendence. That's the bottom line, where you can actually act for the benefit of all, right? As Maharaj Prithu is doing, for the benefit of his citizens, for the benefit of the earth, for the benefit of the entire universe. You can only do that through achieving the absolute platform, and you can only achieve the absolute platform through devotional service, right? Through serving the Supreme Lord. And therefore, this service will actually bring us to real unification. It doesn't cause divisions. This service is able to achieve that. So, the important thing, though, that we have to note in this verse from the second canto is that this devotional service must be exclusive. Must be exclusive to the Lord. So then, this is another point that people bring in, that if it's exclusive to the Lord, that it doesn't mean it's exclusive. It doesn't include all the other religious processes and other worshipable beings, right? And this is why people have a problem with devotional service. That we could probably be a lot more popular if we sort of allowed the worship of other deities, for example. I know there's some practitioners of bhakti who allow that people also bring in their worship practices from Christianity and so on. So it may seem like we're unifying people in that way, but eventually it dilutes the goal. Because we said that in order to get out of this material world, right, or the only way to get out of the material world, is to approach Mukunda, the giver of liberation. And you can't approach Mukunda halfway or part of the way. That's not because he doesn't like sharing. He doesn't like sharing his worship. But it's because he recognizes your independence. If you have any doubt that he is the way, and you want to try another way or bring another way in there, he will give you that opportunity. But to explore that way, you have to eventually achieve the destination of that, not him. Because if you have any doubt in him and you want to be with someone else and you get to his planet where there's exclusive devotion to him, what are you going to do there? You can't start worshipping another deity, or you can't start following another religious practice. It's not possible in the spiritual world, which is exclusive devotion to the Lord. Krishna explains very clearly in Bhagavad Gita, if you worship the demigods, you go to the demigods. If you worship the ancestors, you go to the ancestors. If you worship ghosts and spirits, you go to them. Right? When we follow the processes of Christianity and Islam, we end up in the heavenly planets, and if you follow Buddhism, then you achieve the planets, that very elevated planets of Brahma and others in the upper planetary systems. And if you want to achieve the Brahma Jyoti, then you do so, but you don't get Krishna unless you really only want Krishna, and that's fair. Right? So this is the importance of us understanding one of the many reasons why devotional service must be exclusive to Krishna, why this must be carried out with one pointed determination, right? With complete adoration or pure love. Then when our determination is that resolute, then the Lord will reciprocate, right? In respect to our independence. Right? When we make it clear to him that we want out of this world, we have no curiosity about the heavenly planets, or we have no affection for another worshipable being that we want to achieve. When we have set course for the spiritual world, Krishna will remove the obstacles for us to achieve that. Right? So this we must be clear of and accepting of as well. Right? Again, through this highest dharma, paradharma. Okay. So I think I'll stop here. Thank you all so much for your kind attention. Srila Prabhupada ki. Are there any questions or comments? Anything to correct?
Hare Krishna. First of all, thank you for enlightening all of us with your wonderful class and everything. What I need to know is when we all of us happen to leave this material world and happen to go back to Krishna, how are we going to identify the devotees? Can you comment on that?
You mean devotees that we've had association with maybe here? So my understanding is that when we have come to such an advanced level in spiritual life, we actually have knowledge basically on the level of the Supreme Lord, past, present and future. This is a reference from Srimad Bhagavatam. Now we're reading the 4th canto, where it's described that Narada Muni knew of the austerities of Dhruva to come and grant him or give him instructions, because he was also a Trikalagya like the Supreme Lord. So because the devotee comes to the absolute level, then he also has abilities, obviously not in the greatness of the Lord, but at least to a degree to be able to do what the Lord can do. So by knowing past, present and future, obviously also because now one can hear the Lord directly and be guided by him, then through that ability one should be able to recognize other such personalities. Although my understanding would be that there isn't that same attachment to them, because right now, even though we are in the practice of devotional service, we haven't perfected it, so we may have attractions or attachments that are very material, even to devotees, but that it will become more that, completely that we're attached to the Lord, and that everyone else is now related to that primary attachment. So we may not have the same kind of relationship, feel the same way, but it would be obviously now in this perfected setting that we could associate with them with. Is that okay, Prabhu? Thank you. Any other questions, comments, corrections? Okay. Thank you all so much, Prabhupada Ki Jai.